You've tuned in to Arm and a Leg and Other Opinions We Like to Give, a weekly podcast hosted by two veterans dedicated to politics, current events, interviews, and anything else they want to mention, but probably shouldn't. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Robbie the Dream Gaupp and Brett Miracle Man Parks.
Hey, welcome, and thank you so much for tuning in to Arm and a Leg and Other Opinions We Like to Give. I am Brett Parks.
And it's your boy, Robbie Gaupp.
All right, so today we have a lot of stuff in just a little bit of time. We're going to try to keep it within a half hour. So how you doing, Robbie?
Pretty good. How have you been?
You know, it's been busy, man. It's been so hot lately. It's like, what? It's almost middle of October, and I am so tired of this heat. Like,
it's true. It's getting warm.
It's so bad. I'm just like, all right, I'm ready to move to Maine or something where it's cooler because I'm tired of it. I'm sweating all the time.
It ain't no cooler up here, Brett. It ain't no cooler up here.
No.
It's still hot. It's actually getting in the 70s. So, it's not too bad, low 70s, but it could be worse.
Okay. Well, yeah. Saturday morning, I woke up really early, take my kid to my son to baseball pictures, whatever. And it was like high 60s. And I was like, oh, this is so good. Please keep this like this, God. And then it got to about 90. And the thing is, when you're an amputee, and you still sweat in your leg, and there's nowhere for the sweat to go because you're wearing like a silicone liner and stuff. So it's like you're walking, every step you take is in like a puddle of sweat. So it's like you're walking in a swamp all day until you can take and it's so sick. My wife, she sees me do it. I take my leg off after being out for a while, and I have to put a towel down, and the sweat just pours out of my socket, and she's like, she's like about to throw up because it's retarded.
Swamp in the swampland, huh?
Oh, it's gross.
So Brett, welcome back. It's been 2 weeks now because we actually had volleyball, so we've been gone with training camp. So.
Yeah, volleyball. That's right.
You forgot all about it, huh?
Yeah, I kind of lost my cool this camp. I was doing okay, and then something happened, and I just lost it, man. I got in trouble, but we talked it out, and everything's okay. So
yeah, it's all good. Things happen. We have some stuff we're going to be talking about today, like that. You have heated exchanges and stuff like that. That kind of stuff. People get temperamental, and it's a sport. So
yeah, oh yeah,
that's what happens
for sure.
So I want to first off say congratulations to Brett Kavanaugh on his confirmation this week. I know you've heard about it and seen it. So this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's very important that he was confirmed. Just because not because I don't think he's the ideal man for the job, in my opinion, but when allegations are thrown at people, there needs to be a due process. There really does. There needs to be okay, we have somebody making this claim. Now we need corroborating evidence. We need witnesses and all that stuff. And I know when it comes to sexual harassment and stuff, we know when it comes to that, it's tough to find witnesses and corroborating evidence, but you need to find something in order to disqualify somebody, and really nothing was brought forward. So I think it was the right thing. It was the right move.
It's true. This weekend, I don't know if you've seen it. I think it was Cena, Pennsylvania. There was actually, they're calling it the Mean Girls case right now. There was 5 girls who actually are being sued right now by the parents of the kid. There was a guy there was 2 girls actually made false accusations of sexual accusations on this student, and he lost his job and everything else. And, they're suing the school as well because of this. So
yeah,
big deal right now.
It's very, we have to really be careful about that. And the whole thing, I believe all women, or I believe survivors, it's good. It's good. It's good to take things seriously when there's claims like that. But there are bad females too, just like there are bad guys, and we just have to be careful, and we have to keep our heads about us, keep our wits, and just look for, some logical corroborating evidence and stuff like that. So yeah, congratulations to Kavanaugh and the family. I feel so bad for the kids and the wife, and gosh, I can't even imagine what they're going through.
Well, he won 50-48, right, for the votes?
Yeah, the narrowest margin, I think.
Narrowest margin for Supreme Judge nominee.
But it was bipartisan. It
Yes,
wasn't.
it is.
Yeah. So there was a Democrat that voted for him, and there was a Republican that voted against him. So it was definitely bipartisan. It just wasn't 50-50 bipartisan like I wish it would be.
Yeah, it's one of them things, it's in the world we live in, there's good, there's bad, and then there's things that happen that are gonna make things seem like, they shouldn't be the way that they are. But in the end, hopefully the better of the two, overrides. So we'll see how that all goes.
Right.
So as of last night, we all
Mhm.
know UFC, Conor McGregor versus Khabib was the biggest fight in world history, supposedly.
Supposedly, yes.
I don't believe that, but I will say this. I got to watch a fight last night. Thanks to my brother, Tony Steele, for tuning in through FaceTime and letting me watch it. But it was a really good fight. I actually watched it. 2 rounds went straight to Khabib. I'm not sure if you got to watch the entire fight, and then the third round was a Conor first round that Khabib has ever lost. So congratulations to Conor on that part.
Yeah. Before we talk about the antics after the fight, I think that I predicted before that Conor was going to lose, just because he's not the same Conor as before. He's had a son, he had a kid, a little boy, and like it or not, parenthood changes you. Being a father changes you. It changes your mentality. I know when I was married to my wife, but still, not a dad, I really acted one way. But then when I had my son, I looked in his eyes, it's like my whole world changed. And Conor's not as hungry as he used to be. And from what I saw, it wasn't the same Conor that we remember, So yeah, I expected him to lose, and good job, Khabib. I know it was personal, and that's when everything else bled into the after the fight.
Yeah, it was a really good fight. I think Khabib showed that he wasn't just a versatile one side fighter, just like Conor McGregor did as well. Conor McGregor's fighting, as far as wrestling, seemed to improve, in my opinion. I feel his stand-up game actually got weaker. I think maybe it's to do with the boxing. Who knows? Conditioning probably had a factor in to do with that. But we watched Khabib. I mean, the first round, he did take him to the ground, and I thought he was going to end it in the first round when he did that. But he didn't. Of course, the second round, he actually came out and struck Conor in the first minute, and I thought he was going to actually knock him out because he did knock him down, and he was stunned.
Yeah, I saw he was staggered. It staggered him for sure.
He actually knocked him down, and when he got on top of him, then he literally ground and pounded him. And I kind of knew it was over after that round, I assumed, but I think Khabib really wanted to show him that, as we've heard, Nate Diaz has said that later rounds, Conor McGregor's punches aren't as strong,
Yeah,
as they make it out to be. So Khabib came out in the third round and literally stood toe to toe and let him punch him. I think he actually let him win the round because he didn't really throw any blows. He kind of just took Conor's and just to show him, I think, that, hey, all this talk you were talking about knocking me out, it just ain't gonna happen. And then in the fourth round, he, of course, made him tap out pretty easy. Conditioning definitely got to him in that round. So
yeah, I think Conor's always had a tough go at it when it comes to conditioning. If you can get 3 rounds, 3 rounds past Connor's 3 rounds, and I think you're pretty good. You're set. And let's just face it, Khabib, he was raised wrestling bears, for crying out loud. Like, he's an excellent fighter. He's an excellent wrestler. He's a boring fighter. he's an excellent fighter, and he's 24-0 for a reason. And he, even though this isn't the same Conor, he still beat Conor McGregor, one of the greatest ever in that weight class. So good for Khabib, good for him. I was hoping that Conor would win, but I didn't think he was going to. So yeah, good job.
yeah, I went into the fight, with. I mean, I don't hope Conor loses because I do think he is a exciting fighter to watch because he kind of does fight more. But at the same time, I mean, a fight is a fight, and in the end, you know, the better training is going to pay off in the end. I mean, we watched Floyd Mayweather, and everybody wanted to see Conor McGregor knock Floyd Mayweather out. But in the long run, we knew Floyd Mayweather was going to win because he's a boxer, and you know
Right.
that's how it went. So I knew it once it was in the UFC, like the UFC, Khabib versus Conor, I kind of knew it was going to go to the ground eventually,
Right.
and when it got there, I knew in the end the person with the better training is going to pull out the victory, and that showed.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now I do want to address what happened after the fight. Those of you that don't know, there's so much chaos after the fight, you know, people fighting, throwing bows, all sorts of stuff. And I personally thought it was very, very unprofessional for Khabib to do what he did. But before we go into this, let me just read the facts for what I saw and what I asked for a few people. Here are the facts of what happened. So Khabib and Conor, they have a history, and it's a pretty bad one. So here it goes. A couple months ago, Khabib and his friends cornered Artem, I believe it was, like in a club, and punched him or did something. And Artem called Conor and was like, "Hey, Khabib and his boys, he did this and this and this." So then, like the next day or 2 days later, Conor flies from Ireland with his boys over to the pre-fight weigh-in and stuff like that for one of Khabib's boys. Was it Khabib's boy? Or was it just Khabib's weigh-in? I think it was Khabib's weigh-in,
Yeah,
right? So McGregor shows up at the pre-fight, and he starts attacking Khabib's bus with Khabib and some of his boys with it in it. So Conor throws a dolly, glass shatters everywhere, glass cuts people. One guy I think I had to pull out of a fight because of it. So Conor was arrested. He turned himself in, and he was fined heavily. So that's what happened there. So then the fight comes. Dana, he sets up this fight, Khabib and Conor, bad blood, you know, this will settle it. So Khabib, from what I saw and what I heard, dominated the fight. Like Khabib, he's the better, more well-rounded fighter. Okay. So, and Khabib was talking crap the whole time. He was talking the whole time, which is fine, which is good. So then after the fight, so here it goes from round 4, Khabib puts him in a rear naked choke, and it almost looks like that Khabib didn't really have the choke on, more like was about to break his jaw. And so Conor tapped out. While Conor was sitting there, you know, he rolled over and was sitting on his butt. Khabib spits on Conor, spits on him, starts talking crap. Well, Conor looks up, wipes the spit off his face, and just nodded at him. At that time, Khabib goes to Conor's corner, starts yelling at his corner, throws his mouthpiece at him, and then he jumps the fence and runs after I think Dennis, last name Dennis, ran after him, and they started fighting. All right. So then Khabib's guys get in the ring and attack Conor while he was sitting there, punched him like 3 times. And then Dana said, there's no way I'm going to put this belt on you right now, because this place will go nuts. This place, I fear for your safety and everyone else's safety, we're going to escort you out. So he got escorted out. And then the Bruce Buffer, you know, declared him a winner, which he was, but did not put the belt on him because the place was getting out of hand. Now, as of right now, 3 of Khabib's guys are in jail, were arrested. And so that's where we are right now. So those
well,
of you that weren't in the know,
they
that's
didn't press charges, so they got off. They're of course released them and all that, and Connor's paycheck, of course, both of their paychecks were withheld.
okay.
And then Connor's, of course, he talked to the Nevada commission and whatever, and they released his paycheck. I'm not sure if they did Habib's yet or not. You know, it's all gonna come
Yeah,
up.
we don't know what's going to happen to Khabib, but so what is your take on this whole thing?
I do feel, yes, I think it was a disrespect. I am personally a person who believes spitting in someone's face is completely disrespectful. At the same time, I think some antics that go on prior, to this fight, they're, talking about people's fathers, talking about the religion. I'm not saying that those things aren't, but when you go overboard, Conor McGregor, I believe, goes overboard sometimes with the things he says and does, and without knowing all the facts and bringing those kind of things into the pre-fights. And then the bus thing happened where you hurt people, but then you brought 30 people. It kind of, to me, I have to go kind of with my girlfriend Sadie. She stated that this is almost turning into a WWE spectacle, and I kind of almost want to agree with her because the bus thing is kind of weird. Nobody got suspended. There were some fines and there were some arrests, but who knows? That could still be all set up and staged as we've seen in the past with other things. I will say, this almost resembled the Tyson Evander Holyfield brawl. But
Yeah.
I still think that's the best brawl I've ever seen besides the NBA basketball brawl, as far as fighting wise.
Right.
In my take of this though, I feel, you have somebody who's being ridiculed all the time, and he's kind of the quiet. We're gonna go an outside looking in. You have this person who's kind of quiet looking, that's sitting in the corner, getting bashed on, getting hated on because why? Because everybody's a Conor McGregor fan, even though this person has already shown that his dominance in the UFC is basically 27-0, and he's just destroying people. And a bully, we're going to say Conor's the bully here, is bullying the person in the corner, and eventually that person in the corner is going to stand up. Now, he stood up and he won the fight, but I think in the end it was still so much ridicule that it just eventually it was under his skin. And yeah, I think it was unprofessional in the aspect that yes, he jumped into the crowd, but it's almost like, who knows, it could all been staged to be that way a little bit, because it is odd that nobody kind of caught him on the cage and all that. But
well, yeah, I think, and those of you need to know that Dana White is a huge fan of Vince McMahon. He loves Vince McMahon, and he loves the WWE as far as business wise. Having said that, spitting on someone is actually assault. And to me, it's completely unprofessional. And this UFC is a business. And in a business, to try to sell tickets, when there's a fight, there's a good guy and there's a bad guy. And Chael Sonnen goes over this in his podcast, and which is it's so well explained. It's great. In order to put butts on the seats, there has to be a conflict. There has to be a good guy and a bad guy. Chael was always the bad guy. He talked, he did all this stuff. And I think that's who Chael was. And I think Conor's like that. And I think Diaz is like that. They're just bad guys. They talk crap. I know Diaz doesn't talk much crap at all, but he's like, it's his role. That's what he does. And Conor, after a fight, win or lose, he's always pretty professional. He gives the guys hugs. He's like, you did it. I think he's more of a businessman than we think. Now, having said that as well, there is something personal. There's something off, out of the office that happened, a lot of personal things. So it made it more personal. And what I was telling you earlier, Robbie, it was Bisbing, that he was the kind of guy that after a fight, he would talk so much crap to the person he just beat up. And I hated that. I thought it was so unprofessional, because beating the guy in the ring, in the octagon, to me, that is the last laugh. Like, I beat you. That's it. There's nothing about it. And then it should be over. It should all be squashed, because you know what? At the end of the day, this is a business. And I think it was very unprofessional what he did. Spitting. So there was 3 infractions, really. There was spitting that needs to be dealt with. You can't do that. That's unprofessional. I think Dan's going to do something about that. And then there's throwing your mouthpiece at the corner. And then there's jumping out of the octagon and going and fighting another guy. Those 3 things those have to be dealt with. I think the fight commission is going to come down hard on Khabib and his boys. I think with those 3 that were arrested, I think that they'll probably get their fighting license, might ban them, and maybe even Khabib too. But I think they'll be a little bit more lenient. So what do you think about it?
I think in the end, when we all break it down, like I said, there was no arrest made as far as any person. But in my mind, like I said, Conor kind of got a slap on the wrist by the UFC. And we've seen this in sports entertainment a lot. I think Dana White, his golden child is Conor McGregor right now. He's made a lot of money for the UFC. He's brought on all these people. I look at the traditional fighting, Khabib is a traditional fighter. He's been raised to do this. And, in his mind, I don't think he, all this talking and, like you said, the media kind of brought in the UFC, the WWE, Bellator, those kind of things are US made, they're big USA things. And those are fighting things where the media has to bring in people. But like Khabib is, in my mind, a traditional fighter where, they might go out and if they're doing karate, they bow to each other before they fight, or they tap gloves or whatever, they fight. And then, that's that. But that's how they settle it. They don't talk trash. They don't do this because your trash, is talked with the gloves. And I kind of seen that in his post interviews where he didn't really say much, and he kept trying to tell Conor, you're talking too much. You're talking too much. But, it's one of them things. And I think at the same time, we have to look at the, the suspensions and, where Conor McGregor didn't get suspended for, hurting other UFC fighters. And, Khabib's family was on his bus, when that all happened. And other families were on buses. So where Dana White can say, oh, well, this is going to come down to the commission and all this and all that. I think Dana White also has to look at, this is my poster child and he just got beat. And I'm probably going to lose money because, people aren't really caring to watch Conor anymore in my mind. He still draws a crowd because he's just a big talker. But everybody kind of knows. It's like the Nate Diaz fight, when he got beat, after that I was like, oh, this isn't his first fight to lose. He's lost a few fights. It's not something big news, It's just right now he's their poster child and they could sell him really easy because he is a big talker and he is, this person who wears the flashy clothes. He's the Floyd Mayweather of the UFC, as he says. But in all actuality, the person who's undefeated is really the Floyd Mayweather of the UFC.
Come on. That's not true. Just because the records, that's not what he means about the record. He means about he knows how to talk. He knows how to do what he needs to do. He's the Muhammad Ali of the UFC. And Muhammad Ali was better than Floyd Mayweather. And Muhammad Ali was not undefeated. He lost numerous times.
Yeah, you're right. But, Conor McGregor looks at this as a money market.
Of course.
And it's not a money market maybe to other fighters.
Well, that's all he looks at it as.
That's what I'm saying. Whenever you bring in fighters from other countries, they may not be looking at this as a money market.
No, this their life.
So it's like
it reminded me a lot of Rocky IV with the Russian and what's the Russian's name?
I can't remember.
I can't. You guys know. I know you guys are screaming at the screen saying, but it's a lot like that, But not with Rocky. With what's his name? Apollo Creed. Apollo. He was charismatic, a big talker. He knew how to bring the crowds in. And then you had the Russian that was just quiet and just stoic and just standing there. And he let his gloves talk. And you know what? Talkers, they get beat down sometimes. And Conor got beat down. He almost got knocked out. So yeah, I think Khabib is definitely a better fighter at this moment. Conor wasn't the same Conor, but here's what I think Dana's going to do. All right, I think Dana's, they asked Dana, I think today or late last night, what he's going to do, and he said, I don't know. But here's what I think he'll do. He'll strip Khabib of the belt. He'll suspend Khabib for a significant amount of time, and that's a win-win for fans and Dana. Because nobody wants to watch Khabib fight because he's so boring. He takes you down and he lays on you and does. It's a boring fight. It's a boring thing. I don't know, and he's not a good with the press. So he doesn't bring in the money like someone like a Conor or even a I wish I had the names right now. But so I think that's what's going to happen. And I hear that there's rumors that Khabib wants to retire, and he wants to retire undefeated. And I think that shows that's a little bit more valid because of what he did last night, because he doesn't care if he gets suspended because he's retiring anyways. So I think he did all that stuff. And if Dana strips him of the belt and retire and suspends him for a certain amount of time, I think Khabib's going to say, okay, I'm done. Because there's been rumors.
In my mind, it's one of the things. I personally don't think he should be suspended or stripped of his belt, but especially stripped of his belt. He won the fight fair and square.
Oh, he won it. He'll still have the W, but he won't have the belt.
There's no reason. there's people who's held that belt, many a years and not really fought. Jose Aldo was one of them. And to me, in my opinion, I mean, if you're going to suspend him, okay, you suspend him. He still gets to keep his belt, and there's no reason why to take it away. I mean, look at John Bones Jones. I mean, he had the belt forever while he was, going through all his stuff. So it's still, to me, it's one of them. It's one of them things. Let the man hold his belt. I mean, I personally, like I said, Dana White took this personal, not just because of the whole shenanigans afterwards. Because in my opinion, when Khabib asked for the belt afterwards, whether it was going to be ridiculed or made a mockery and people were going to throw things in the ring or not, Dana White should have placed his belt on him and let him just enjoy his moment. I mean, that's his moment. But Dana White instead took the moment away from him and said, you know what, hey, I feel this is going to be a bad thing for the UFC.
No,
it's not going to be a bad thing.
Dana did not take his moment away. Khabib took his own moment away when he started acting like a child. Now, Bisping did say last night that, listen, that's not the Khabib we know. When you're in there and you just finished fighting, you're in warrior mode and you act differently, and I get that. But what he did was completely disrespectful, and it was bad business. And I applaud Dana for not handing him the belt. He still has the belt, but he's not going to keep. He didn't get the belt on him at that moment because Khabib chose to take that moment away from himself.
I mean, did he really though? Because they already knew. To me, Dana White knew the tension anyway, and he still allowed Dennis, the Bellator fighter, I forgot his name, but they allowed him still in the venue. And they shouldn't have probably done that. They already knew that was a person that came to the thing, already had problems with Khabib.
Okay, yeah.
In my mind, you kind of created the incident for yourself.
No. You can't say that because Khabib has his own mind and he gets to make his own decisions, and you can't be like, oh yeah, Khabib. Khabib did it. He had no choice but to jump the fence and go running after him. That makes no sense at all.
No, but you allow somebody that already had already created a bad incident for the UFC with Conor McGregor to come to your venue and now create another bad incident. So to me, Dana White should have put a stop to that before it ever happened. Dana White can sit there and say all he wants that, we prepared for this and this and that. We had all the security. I don't think there was a police officer out in the streets and this and that. They did not prepare completely for everything, first off. And second off, if he would have knew this was going to happen, he could have prepared even easier by saying, hey, you're not allowed at our venues any longer. And you can say that. But guess what he looked at? He looks at the money, just like every other business person. That's it.
Ultimately, it's about the bottom line. And he probably will ban Bellator athletes now from coming to venues and watching. But then again, it's one of those things where he, like Sadie said, alluded to, is that kind of like a WWE thing. I feel like he is wanting to move a little bit towards the sports entertainment, but still with the real fighting. But he wants that kind of storyline. And I think that in a way that was good that he brought that dude from Bellator over and to cause tension. But I think what Dana didn't suspect was that Khabib would jump the fence and run after him. He thought probably Khabib would just talk crap within the fence. And
but this isn't the first time this has happened. Conor McGregor did the same thing to Jose Aldo. He got out of the cage, went and got in his face. So
I mean, wrong. He shouldn't have done that either.
But he wasn't suspended for it.
He should have.
I mean, that's the thing. That's how we got to look at this. This is not something uncommon. This isn't the first time this has ever happened. The only thing
it's not common.
The only thing UFC
has happened before, but it's not common.
Only thing Dana White and the UFC is saying is, oh, well, there could have been civilians hurt. Okay, that can happen anytime though. There's been times when civilians have jumped into the ring as well.
Yeah, and that's wrong too. I just want to be careful not to point at bad behavior to condone other bad behavior. We just need to remember that all of this is bad. And it's very unprofessional, and it got way out of hand, especially if somebody's punching McGregor when he's sitting there getting looked at by the doctors and stuff. You don't do that. And I know, and Bisping said this last night as well. He said those 3 punches or whatever punches that McGregor took was nothing to him. He's like, we do that every Friday night. We take punches. So that didn't mean anything to him. That he didn't feel that. He doesn't care. It's the loss of control. It's the chaos that's bad. It's just bad business, and it shouldn't be tolerated.
I mean, we've seen this in boxing and everything else where, the corners come out and end up fighting and hitting other fighters. I mean, that's the tension. I mean, you're talking about somebody. I mean, Conor McGregor sat there and talked about his team the entire time. So maybe one of his team said, you know what? Hey, you're not as bad as you really think you are. I mean, just like the Bellator fighter might not think Khabib is that bad, but who knows? I mean,
Yeah,
in the end, we'll never really figure that out unless, I think unless Khabib ends up going to Bellator or something like that. But in my mind, the UFC is kind, like I said, it's kind of a shenanigan type thing right now, and I've been watching fights like recently, and it's just, I don't know, it's more like it's almost staged in a way, with the way that things are going in the ring and outside in the pre-interviews where Conor threw a glass bottle at somebody clear across the thing, and I mean those things are uncalled for, but Dana White allows them to pass because Conor's his money.
yeah. I mean, it does put more butts in the seat. It makes it more entertaining, and I think that UFC needs to be very careful not to drift too far into those WWE waters, because people that, you have WWE watchers and you have UFC watchers. Rarely do they intertwine with each other. I love both of them. But you need to remember that a lot of these guys that just watch the UFC hate WWE because of the entertainment value. They don't like that. They just want to see straight fights, and vice versa. So you need to be really careful to not get too close to WWE, or you're going to turn a lot of people off.
And it's becoming that point. I mean, when you look at, Dana White brings in people that, yeah, they seem like they have potential. CM Punk was one, you brought in an old, dang it, I can't remember. Brock Lesnar. You brought Brock Lesnar in, like after he was already in his WWE career. I mean, he was dominant still, but he had already started a WWE career. I mean, you've had fighters come from the WWE that's been successful in fighting, and Bobby Lashley, and I think in Bellator.
And even when Cormier won the belt just a couple months ago, they brought Brock Lesnar in to like stand off against him, and Brock Lesnar gave him a huge shove. Now Cormier is a huge WWE fan. He loves WWE, and he thought it was all cool. And Cormier kind of straddles that line for loving talking crap and stuff WWE way. But you're right. I don't think that should really be happening, because it could go south quick.
Yeah, we've seen these post fight interviews where they're doing the weigh-ins and then it gets out of hand. Bones Jones did it with Cormier and those kind of things. Yeah. And it's one of them things. It's when you're trying to draw a crowd and you're doing things like this, somebody eventually is going to get hurt where you're like, oh man, now we probably shouldn't have done it this way. But that's their thing. They like to feed the fire. They like to do these things. And maybe this is a fire they fed too much. And like we said, it was something personal, and being on the personal note, now you took it to an extent where this person doesn't care really truthfully about the UFC. His thing is about his career and his lifestyle, and that's what he does. I mean, and he showed that in his, in his technique. So, in the end, I want to say, from my opinion, Khabib, great job on your win. I think it was a great, victory. I think you actually showed that Conor McGregor, was more talk than he was action in this fight. So,
yeah, I agree. It was a perfect fight for Khabib. He did great. Just, man, stay humble, man. I know he has a lot of ego, and that's good. You need that for fighting. But when it comes to afterwards, man, don't even worry about it. You beat him down. He's down there bleeding and huffing and puffing. Yeah.
Well, Brett, after all this, I'm not sure if you got to see my Facebook. Well, I actually posted a video on our Arm and a Leg and Other Opinions We Like to Give podcast page. But did you see the post-fight interview with Derek Lewis?
I did. It was great. It was
one of the most epic post-fight interviews I've ever seen in my life, and I think it goes down as number one in my time of watching. So
tell us about it.
Well, Derek Lewis ended up knocking out. Let me actually get his name, the right name of the person.
Yeah, knock somebody out.
Yeah, he knocked out a Russian. It don't matter.
Yeah.
But then after the post fight, he randomly took off his pants and he was in his drawers. And Joe Rogan asked him, "Why'd you take off your pants?" And he said, "Well, because my balls are sweaty."
His balls are sweaty.
And then he asked, he said that the reason he knocked him out was because Donald Trump gave him a call and he said he was tired of all the Russians.
No, guys, he's straight up saying this to Joe Rogan live on TV with thousands of people in there.
I think he told Joe Rogan was telling him, you're the number 2 contender up for the belt, and how does he feel about that? And he said he just needs to sit down and get conditioning before he does anything. So I thought it was a very funny interview. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. I think being a USA fighter and having your opportunity and going out there and beating somebody that I don't think you were expected to beat, and just putting your foreface in front of everybody. And I mean, Derek Lewis is a pretty funny guy as far as this kind of stuff, supposedly. So I haven't really watched too much of his fight or post-interview fights, but I need to go and check them out now.
Yeah, it was such a cool interview just because he didn't care, man. He took his drawers off. He did everything.
He was tired. That man was tired.
So it was great.
So, Brett, do you have any strange news?
Strange news, I do. This is really strange. It's not one of those like, oh my gosh, there's a worm, crawling around your eyeball, but it's kind of strange if you think about it. This is from the New York Post, and the headline reads, "Hamptons millionaires build luxurious panic rooms to hide from MS-13." All right. So here it is. Chris Cosman of Covert Interiors heads inside panic room he built in a home he sold to a friend, Stefano Giovanni. Forget about it. There is a specter haunting the Hamptons, one that's turning some of the priciest properties into the country and the fortresses equipped with bulletproof glass, weaponry, and panic rooms. John Casamitis quoted by saying, "I sleep with a gun underneath my pillow, a Walther PPK, the same one James Bond carried." I have one of those, by the way. "My wife, Margot, prefers a shotgun, although once she thought she heard something, got the shotgun out and shot through the door." Nice. The billionaire and his family, like others in the Hamptons, are shaken up over the concerns that the vicious Salvadorian gang MS-13 is too close for comfort. In April, members of the gang massacred 4 young men behind a soccer field in central Islip. 3 months later, a Hamptons Bay brothel, raided by police, was found to be tagged with an MS-13 sign. And in 2016, a man with MS-13 connections broke into a Southampton home and sexually assaulted a woman. So, these guys are going all out. You see some of these pictures. It looks like a smoke room, like one of those dark library rooms, and there's like M4s and everything all over the place. It's crazy. Here's what it looks like. I don't know.
Wow. They are decked out.
They are decked out. And so, yeah, good job, Hampton.
So MS-13 is definitely a crazy, crazy gang.
Yes.
Everybody knows that. I definitely, don't condone that kind of violence or anything like that. And these people taking, precautionary measures is definitely something. I mean, if I had billions of dollars, I probably would do too, even if it wasn't for MS-13. But I would say, these are kind of old, old cases that these people are worried about. 2016 was, I think, the newest one you said, right?
Yeah.
And the Iceland, that's not even really close, but it's like,
I think it's Islip. It's a town there.
Oh, Islip. Oh, okay.
Islip.
Oh, okay. I thought you said Iceland. I said that's not even close.
Yeah.
Worried about that.
They seem a little bit too paranoid for this. Now, I'm saying this as someone who's extremely paranoid, and I'm kind of a prepper, but to make these kind of panic rooms specifically because of MS-13s, a little bit, that's reaching. There's other things.
I'd be more worried about my wife shooting through a door
yeah,
with a shotgun versus the MS-13 right now.
Somebody needs to train her to relax.
Who knows? Who could have been on the other side of that door?
Yeah, it might have been their son had a nightmare and was coming into bed. Boom!
Like, That's pretty scary, but I guess preparing always for the worst is better than not being prepared at all. Ain't that what they say?
Oh yeah, it's better to prepare or need it and not have it than need it and no. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Something
Yeah.
like that.
So I mean, in a way, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Martha Stewart, I'm sure, has some brownies baked right there on the countertop for her and Miss 13 break-in people.
Oh,
But
yeah. They're probably weed brownies.
yeah, they probably are. So they'll probably stop there first. So she has time to get her gun,
Yeah, for sure.
which she ain't supposed to have because she's a felon. But
She's not.
I mean, it's one of them things. I think this is a pretty strange news for that area. I mean, I've been there. I've seen, a lot of their houses, and the security there is pretty tight. So, I mean,
Yeah, you hang out with you hang out in the Hamptons, don't you?
I do a little bit.
Look at you moving on up in the world.
Yeah, that is some strange news, Brett.
Isn't it? Well, all right, guys, this is the end of this podcast today, and thank you for hanging on with us for the whole time. My name's Brett Parks, and remember, we have a YouTube channel. Go to it. You click the subscribe button, and also click that little notification button. So when we do lay down one of these podcasts, you guys know that it's here, and you don't have to worry about Facebook ever.
Also, go ahead and like our Facebook page, to Arm and a Leg and Other Opinions We'd Like to Give, and if you can, go ahead and leave a few comments and let us know about how our shows are going, our past shows as well, and we'd just like to talk to you.
Great, yeah, very good. All right, thank you so much. We will see you guys next week. My name is Brett Parks.
This is your boy Robbie Gaupp,
and we
are out of here.